5 years ago, I would be terrified to be here. But I'm just a little bit nervous, so I feel like that's a step up. Thank you, Dan. That really means a lot. I'm going to begin talking about this wonderful man. I don't have access to my notes for my presentation right now, but this is the only part of my presentation I'm going to be reading notes off my phone because I want to make sure that I convey to you everything that I'm feeling. It's been my absolute pleasure and privilege to call this man my coworker. In 2016, I began my dream job, working as a therapist at Lifestar Network, and I met Corey. We had an instant connection. As is Corey's way, we became instant best friends and began calling each other bro and sis. And he really was and is the brother I never had. Since 2016, we have worked together, collaborating and creating a therapeutic model with the focus of healthy sexuality for couples and individuals. This man changed my focus in my career, and I owe him so much for that. He has helped me find my focus and has helped me find pieces of myself as we researched, co-facilitated groups, presented, and best of all, laughed together. His life stopped abruptly without notice a few weeks ago. The information I am about to present to you all is his legacy, and I feel very privileged to be sharing it with you today. Thank you. Okay, so today we're going to step into sexual health, what it is not. We're going to be talking about what the sexual health journey looks like. And we're also going to be talking about the power of language. When we're talking about sexual health, when we're teaching kids, when we're talking in relationships, what language is the best language to use? Sexual health, I have this sexual health questionnaire that I'm gonna guide you all through. And it's gonna be very explorative? I just made up a new word. I'll do that from time to time. It will be very, I hope, my wish for you is that it will be very awakening, maybe to where you are in your own sexual health development. I will be using clear, accurate language as I talk through my presentation. I will not be using slang jargon. We hear enough of that on the internet, everywhere, right? I will be using clear, accurate language when I talk about body parts, when I talk about sexual health. So we're going to be addressing visions of sexual health and what those are, as well as sexual health agreements, and then talking a little bit about consent. I'm going to try to breeze through this. Well, not breeze through it. I want to be able to spend as much time as we need to with each topic, but I feel confident that we're going to go where we need to. So let's start with the journey of sexual health. The World Health Organization in 2006 defined it this way. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I really love how they say it is not merely the absence of disease, dysfunction, or infirmity. So just to say I'm sexually healthy, you know, because I don't have a disease, I don't have an STI, I don't have a, you know, any kind of ailment, that's not an accurate description, okay? Sexual health is a journey, it's not a destination. So I don't feel like, even for myself, I don't feel like we ever land. I don't feel like we ever land as fully sexual health wise, as a fully developed sexual human being. I don't feel like we land there emotionally, physically, spiritually, sexually. I feel like it's a progression. I feel like we're always progressing in this life. So again, when we use clear, accurate language, we invite our bodies to feel, okay? When we use slang or when we use other words to convey a body part because maybe the word vagina is offensive or makes us feel really weird, we use other words to describe it, it kind of numbs us a little bit. And it doesn't invite us to feel. So it's really important to observe and know your body's response. Actually, I need to use my notes for this one too. I'm so sorry. Because I had, here we go. Oh. Okay. Oh, come on. Sorry. Little technical difficulty. Maybe not. This is what happens in life, guys. You have to roll with things, and that's okay. So, in a minute, we're going to do something interesting. I'm going to take you through kind of a meditation. I'm going to do a body scan with you. Well, I wouldn't call it a body scan. I'm going to invite you guys into your bodies, okay? I'm going to be listing off a number of sexual health terms that are not just part of sexual health. They're just anatomical terms, right? I really want you to pay attention to what your body does. When I say the word, notice what's going on in your body. This is the starting place. This is the foundation, because we can't have healthy conversations about sex, about pornography, without knowing what's going on inside. We just can't. We can have conversations. They may just not be the healthiest because we're not sure where we are. So I want you to go to a state of curiosity instead of judgment. So if you feel like, oh, I want to get out of the room right now because I'm so uncomfortable, that's okay. That's where you're at, okay? If you're feeling calm, okay, cool. But go to a place of curiosity and don't say, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't feel this way, okay? That, when we go to judgment, it's just not helpful. This is kind of a clinician side note. This is a clinically significant step. When I work with clients, I am trying to bring them into their bodies by using these clear, accurate terms, and trying to teach them how to do that in their daily life too. And it's really helpful to take out the shame. It helps the shame diminish. Okay, so let's try it. Are you guys excited? I hope so. Okay, so I just want you to get into a comfortable position. If you need to put down your pen and paper, just get your body into a comfortable position in your chair. If you feel comfortable enough, please close your eyes. If not, you can have them open, okay? Just get comfortable. I'm going to start saying words, just a list of words, and I want you to notice what your body does. Nose. Feet. Breasts. Ears. Penis. Fingers. Belly button. Clitoris. Shoulder. Vagina. vulva, elbow, perineum, chin, testicles, arm. Okay, I want you to stay like you are, and I want you to notice. What did your body do? What kind of reactions did you feel? Was it pleasant? Was it offensive? Again, go to curiosity and not judgment with this. Notice where you feel any kind of sensation in your body. Do you feel that? Do you feel what it's like to step into your bodies? Okay. All right. So when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you. My gosh, that was so quiet. Did you feel that? Did you feel the difference? Did you feel differences between the words? Did you feel like you wanted to run away? It's okay. 5 years ago, I probably was like, what did she say that for? Literally, 5 years ago. Probably maybe 2 years ago. When Corey, so Corey and I started working together, right? And he came up to me, he's like, Jess, you have to work with me on this stuff. Like, I'm creating this model, and you'd be perfect. I want to work with you on this. And he told me what it was about, healthy sexuality. And my first reaction, my knee-jerk reaction was, I don't want to work with you about that. Ew, you know. That was 3 years ago. Okay. Holy cow. It's interesting. The more we sit with our bodies, the more we step into them, and the more we understand the reactions that are going on due to cultural expectations, cultural teachings, everything that we've been learned. There we go, guys. Everything we've been taught, right? When we sit with our bodies and when we sit with our emotions, how much more quickly we can progress. So this beautiful thing is it's a depiction of the vagus nerve, okay? Now the vagus nerve is the biggest nerve in your body. It goes from the base of your skull all the way down to your pelvic floor, and it has nerves that go throughout all your body, okay? So what you just experienced in your bodies was the vagus nerve. It sends messages based on meanings that we've learned and tells you when to run, when to relax, when you're hungry, when you're not feeling safe, emotionally, physically. This beautiful thing right here is responsible to that, or for that. Isn't that interesting? I could look at it all day, but we don't have time. So here's the questionnaire that we're going to go over. Okay, I love to take my clients through this because it is so telling. This is not my work, nor Corey's work. We have adapted this from a book called Sacred Sexual Healing. So I just wanted to preference that. We've just kind of added our own stuff in it, but it's really their work. Okay. So, what did my parents teach me about my vagina or penis? Right? What did they teach me about sex? And I would even say how. Okay? Go into this a little bit deeper. How? Because, this is a foundational class, so we're not going to go into how to do sex healthy, right? Like the actual act. We can't get there until we know what's going on inside of us. We can't really address that. So this is like the prereq to that. Basic foundational stuff. What actions or attitudes did they model about sex? What did my classmates feel, think, or say about sex? So much of the time, kids are learning not from their parents all that they need to. They're learning from school. They're learning from peers, right? Well, and when I say school, I say kids, peers, right? Because we cover a little bit in our sex education in schools in Utah, but we don't do a lot, right? There's not a lot offered. What did I learn from formal sex ed, right? What did schools teach me? What was the 5th grade, 6th grade maturation program like for me? What did my doctor, right? What do doctors? Before I got married, I went to just a checkup with my OBGYN, right? Like my first checkup. I was terrified. And she said a lot of, she was very clinical. She was helpful, but she was clinical, and she really scared me. Sex is going to hurt. It's going to be painful. I was 20. I was terrified, okay? What did my church or temple teach me? This is an interesting one. What is the earliest negative message about sex that I remember? That's an interesting one, huh? To go back, because again, we're looking at foundations. What helped create the space in where I'm at right now? And is that space negative? Is it positive? Is it calm? What is the earliest positive message? What did I learn about the relationship between sex and spirit? Wow, right? It's really hard. It was really hard for me to make that connection and understand that sex can be sacred. And when I use the term sacred, this is my definition of it. Whatever, because I know there's a lot of different beliefs here, right? Whatever connects you to yourself and to a higher power, whatever that is. But also to your partner, right? But again, you cannot connect with a partner until you learn to fully connect with yourself. You can't. You don't know what you're offering. You don't know how to receive fully. When I think about sex, I cringe, get excited, feel shame. When I talk about it, what comes up? Again, do I cringe? Do I say, oh, I don't want to have the talk? No. Right, the talk. And see, I can go off on different tangents, but there is no just one talk, right? It's a lifelong journey from birth till we pass on of little conversations, sometimes bigger than others, but little conversations, right? Just peppered along our life. This is an important one. My definition of sex is How do we define it? Is it intercourse? Is foreplay a part of it? What is foreplay? Is it between a man and a woman? Does it go beyond that? Every person has a different meaning frame and definition of what sex is. Okay, so you need to know that for yourself before you're able to connect and have that conversation with another person. And then you can work together on, okay, this is what sex means to me. This is how I define it. This is how you define it. How are we going to create this sexual relationship together? What is our sexual relationship going to look like? What are the boundaries? Where are the places we will go and where we won't go? And that says a lot about consent. We'll talk about consent in a minute. Talking to my partner about sex. When I first got married, I feel like we had really good communication. But about sex, it was hard. It was really, really, really hard to sit down and say, okay, what do you feel about that? How does this make you feel? Did you like this? Did you not like this? I couldn't do it. I just wasn't, I hadn't landed in my body yet. Like I hadn't stepped into my body yet. So I didn't know. And that's okay. That is okay. The number one message I want to leave with you is literally where you're at is where you're at. We are all on different spaces of this sexual health progression, and that's okay because we're all progressing in it. So where you're at is where you're at, and that's okay. I'm on this too. I'm on this journey too. I haven't landed. I'm not going to land. My definition of porn is, now that's a very important one as well. I heard one person I've heard a couple years ago, and I can't remember where it was, but it was like, porn is anything that arouses. What? That's really confusing for me because arousal is not a problem. Arousal is nothing to be shamed about, to feel shame over. That's not necessary because arousal is literally the body telling you something is exciting. It's how the body tells you something is exciting or not sexually, right? It's a normal response to an outside stimulus, whatever it is. So what is porn, right? When we talk to our partners, when we talk to our kids, we gotta inform them, and to help them understand what it is and what it's not. Now I could go into detail about this. I could go on about that for a long time. But that's not the purpose. That's not the intention of this presentation. But I really want you to go home and think about that. How do I define porn? How do I define sex? And this is why, right? I define porn as this because. Like, what's the why? Checking the time. Okay. When I think about masturbating or masturbation, what goes on? It's hard not to find a conversation or remember a conversation about masturbation that isn't kind of peppered with shame, right? Just in our society. And I'm not saying our society is bad at all. But again, what's the definition of masturbation? And when I think of it, what happens? What happens inside my body? So, I'm going to mention him in a minute, or I have a slide about him in a minute, but I went to a conference this last year at the U. I always mess up his name. Doug Braun Harvey is a sexual health researcher, sex therapist, based in California. He wrote a book called Out of Control Sexual Behavior. Pretty informative, very good speaker. He had this really awesome idea that I'd never ever thought about. With your partner, before with your partner, you need to have a good idea of what you want. What is your vision for sexual health? Now this is such a broad topic. Sexual health is such a broad topic, and your vision can be so broad, okay? So it can be what you want in a sexual relationship with your partner. It can be what kind of relationship do you want with yourself? Where do you want to be? Spiritually, physically, emotionally, sexually? Like, this is for you, okay? And when I say that, you can go, I'm sure your minds are like, well, I could go here and I could go here, and there's so many different areas that you could think about and have a vision for. Excellent, do it. Okay, go everywhere. The broader it is, the more in tune you are, and the more informed you are about you, and the more you can bring to the table with a partner. I do this with couples too. So once we do the individuals, what's the couple's vision for sexual health in the relationship? This includes boundaries, what we will and will not do, what is okay, what is not okay, and if we're wanting to try something different, we talk about it. It's not a surprise, okay? I'm trying to leave room for a few questions at the end. So if you have questions, know that that's going to be there for you for at least a couple minutes. Sexual relationship agreements. What is okay and what is not okay in your marriage, in your relationship? What if every single relationship started with an agreement, a written agreement? Now this sounds not a romantic thing, right? It doesn't sound like a fairy tale. It doesn't sound like the movies. It's not, because the movies aren't real and fairy tales aren't real. Sorry. Dang it. Right? What if every relationship started with this? With known boundaries. And known, at least for where you were at right then, this is going to be evolving as well. Along the course of the relationship's progression, along the course of the individual's progression, this evolves, right? This progresses too. And that's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. But you got to talk about it. But if every single relationship started with this, I really can't even imagine the difference. So this is Doug Braun Harvey. I love this quote. A relationship without a premeditated, communicated agreement regarding expectations is like giving a child a new car, not teaching him or her how to drive. Okay? That pretty much sums it up. Right? Oh, hey, you're 16. Here's a car, brand new car. But I don't know how to drive. That's okay. You're going to figure it out. You don't need to know how to drive before you're 16, before you get a car, right? Isn't that kind of culturally how we teach sometimes about sexual health, about sexuality? When you're married, when you're in a committed relationship, you'll figure it out together. Yes, I believe that's true. But a lot of foundational work can be done before. A lot. That is very appropriate. So let's talk about consent. This is a big one. Consent, you hear the word consent, my mind automatically goes to sex, or my mind used to automatically go to sex, okay? Like, what is okay, what is not okay? It goes to rape culture, it goes a lot of places like that, right? Consent is huge, and consent can be taught from birth on. It's amazing. So I have 3 little kids, and I'm really trying to hit this hard with them. When my 3-year-old goes up to my 8-year-old and spits in his face, like, right? And he gets mad, okay? Now, this is a weird example. This is a very, very childish example, but this is where we start. Okay, I say to her, did you ask him if he wanted you to do that? No. Okay. Is his face telling you that he wanted to be spit on? No. Right. Another example of this is, and I'm borrowing this from a sex therapist here in Utah. She was talking about going to the pool with her kids, splashing at the pool, okay? Teaching kids that you need to ask permission, or not ask permission, but ask if somebody wants to be splashed. Do you want to get wet? Do you want to be splashed? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, splash. No, I don't want to be splashed right now. Okay. And then teaching how to honor that. Again, we're teaching how to respect and how to differentiate us from another human being. So teaching our kids, like at family parties, Thanksgiving, Christmas holidays, right? There were a few of my friends have kids that don't like to be touched, don't like to be hugged. But family members are always like, oh, I want to pinch you, I want to kiss you, I want to love you, right? Because we love little kids, we love children, and we love family. But these kids are recoiling inside, saying, I don't want this, I don't want this. And then if mom or dad says, oh, come on, give her a hug. This is great Aunt Marge, right? Give her a hug. She'll feel bad if you don't. Unintentionally, how much shame is there, right? Now, I never thought of this. I've done this to my kids. I never thought of this. And I've done this. And I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore, because I can see it. And I remember feeling that maybe on like very few occasions growing up, like, oh, I should hug this person, I should. And then later in life, I feel the effects of it just a little bit. Now, it didn't ruin me, okay? But I remember that. And it speaks a lot to our kids to understand, okay, mom knows. Mom knows, and she respects my decision not to want to have a hug. Would you be comfortable with a fist bump? Yeah, let's fist bump. Or let's do an elbow, right? But this is how we start teaching our kids about consent. There was there was this news story cycling around Facebook a while ago, probably 2 years ago, about this person in another country, I think it was Australia, who asked little, 12 to 18-month-old, or even earlier, can I change your diaper? Right? Because it's respecting their self. There's a lot of backlash, right? A lot of like, you don't need to ask permission. What if they have a poopy bum, right? That would endanger their health, right? You need to change that. I feel like this is a really good example, and here's why. Because we're not asking to say, hey, can mommy change your bum now, right? Can mommy change you? Because what is a 12-month or 18-month-year-old going to say? No, right? No, and run away. Then we say, okay, let me know when you're ready. No, we need to go change it, right? So how do we do this in a healthy way? Now I know this is really elementary, but just to say, you know what? We need to go change your bum now, and take them by the hand and say, this is why we need to, okay? Because it could make it hurt. You could have owies, stuff like that, right? Now they're still gonna fight sometimes, like, no, I want to play, and that's okay. But you're teaching the why. This is how mommy takes care of you, okay? And I'm gonna help you feel safe. There was one instance where my son doesn't like to be restrained. He never has. And there was one instance when I was I was needing to change him, and he was flipping out. And it wasn't just him saying, "No, I just want to play." He was kind of in fight or flight, right? He was scared. Like, he was feeling I was up in his bubble with this. So I remember I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I have to change your bum, dude. I don't understand what you're doing. But so I sat with him for a minute. I said, okay, what's going on? And when I calmed myself down, he began to mirror that. Okay. And we're models. We're models to our kids. We're models to our partners. We model this. We model respect. And consent is all about respect. So, with that, we have about 10 minutes. Yeah. We have about 10 minutes. Okay. And with this, do you want me to take it back or I'll just repeat the question for the video? Okay. I have lots of sources, but the book I mentioned was by Doug Braun Harvey, and it's called Out of Control Sexual Behavior. No, I have multiple sources. So another book I mentioned with the questionnaire is Sacred Sexual Healing. Now, I'm going to add a caveat to that. That was Corey's work. I never read that book. He introduced me to the questionnaire he found in the book. So I can't speak to that book. I just can speak to the questionnaire. Does that make sense? I have never read it. Is there any other questions? Yes.
You have talked about how there is a foundation of healthy sexuality you can build before marriage that some people just say, well, when you're married, you'll figure out together. But there's a base you can build. That's all well and good, but how does that help you when you marry a partner who doesn't have that foundation or doesn't want to talk about it? What do you do when the two partners are in different areas or different levels?
Right. That's a good question. So what happens essentially when partners are on two different planes? That always happens. You're never on the same plane, right? So as long as you are stepping into your body and know what your reactions are, what you want, you can stay firm in your belief, okay? If we don't have that foundation, even when we do, we kind of, well, he or she wants this, and I don't know, it doesn't feel right, but if you have that firm understanding of what you want and what you believe is right for you, you can stick with that. Now, I firmly believe, and I'm a therapist, so I mean, I guess take this as you take it, but I really think couples benefit so much from therapy at the beginning and before marriage. Not because they need it, not because they're fighting, because they, we need therapy because we're fighting, right? No, but just to open up dialogue. Start, like the therapist can be the catalyst to these conversations that are hard. They're really, really hard to have. Really good question. Did I answer? Sort of. They're hard. I know. Yeah. Here, I'll do this.
Awesome. So I was dating someone who was certainly sexually inexperienced, which is fine, but we had conversations about what that sexual intimacy might look like for us, and she expressed kind of certain hesitancies and what might have felt like a manifestation of even asexuality. She said, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy sex. And I didn't know how to navigate those waters and whether or not it was a lack of experience that led to inhibition, or if it was like this is just how she was going to be. And that made it difficult for me to move forward and have clear expectations. I'm just wondering what you might suggest.
That is also a really great question that has, we could spend a lot of time on that one. The first thing that comes to my mind, I feel like we do a disservice to women in society because we don't talk about women's sexuality enough. We don't. There's a wonderful, wonderful book that I recommend by Emily Nagoski, and it's called Come As You Are. And it talks about stepping into your body, understanding where you are, understanding your own libido, understanding maybe past trauma. If there's past trauma, that's going to definitely affect the sexual well-being of a person, right? So perhaps, therapy, absolutely, just to try to help figure out where she's at. But it has awesome information. It's not a spiritual book, but she is a very, very, very amazing researcher, and she has a lot of research combined in this one book. Emily Nagoski, and she's I believe, now my brain's not working, but I believe she's a sex therapist. Come As You Are. Yes, and I'll just repeat your question. Mm-hmm. That happens a lot, huh? So in those situations, he said, for the video's sake, he said when another spouse is on a different plane, right, at a different level, and one spouse is not wanting to work on his or her stuff because they're thinking it's the other spouse, right? Introspection needs to happen no matter where you're at. I feel again, going back to that progression, you're always going to be progressing, and your relationship is always going to be progressing. Even if you feel like it's digressing, you're still on a level somewhat of progression, in time, right? Communication and having an open and willing dialogue, I think it's a matter of time. Like you said, that was you. Just think, you don't have to answer this, but just think in your mind, how did I shift? What helped me make the shift? Right? We kind of get stuck. We kind of get stuck in our own space. I'm right. He or she is wrong. And I wonder if we could reframe that as I feel good. I feel emotionally stable where I'm at, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually. but obviously she or he isn't. So let's explore this without judgment. Go to that space of curiosity. Does that make sense? Okay, we've got 10 more minutes. Yeah. I wish, but yes. Yes, thank you. So where to go for more information? That book that I mentioned by Emily Nagoski, it's not just written for women. It's written about women, but it's benefiting partners as well. She does a great job of just laying it out and does a really great job without being too, what's the word? Maybe too much in your face with the content. She's not like that at all. She does a really good job. There are a lot of, well, there's not a lot of sex therapists here in the Valley, right? But there are, and see, this is the problem that we run into, guys. This is the problem that we run into. It's getting better. There's not a lot of discussion of healthy sex. There's not a lot of discussion about where we go. And that's what we're running into. And I'll get to you next, okay?
I was just wondering, are you familiar with Jennifer Finlayson Fife?
Yes, thank you. That was another resource I wanted to mention. Jennifer Finlayson Fife, yes. Yeah. Jennifer Finlayson Fife. She has a couple courses, really great courses, about women's desire, about sexual relationships, and she does a really good job. She has online courses. She's out of state, but she does have online courses that she offers. Yes. Yes, Finlayson, FINLAYSON hyphen Fife, FIFE. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So what I do, so like I said at the very beginning, Corey and I have, we collaborated on creating a model that we use in therapy with our clients. That's where I go, but I first go here. Where I'm going with you right now is where I go very, very first. So I do that whether there is out of control behavior present, an addiction present, whatever's going on, I go here first. And because this is crucial. If you skip this, it's really hard to move on. Yeah.
When you're working with children then, particularly with your own home, before a child gets to the place that healthy sexuality becomes something that's shamed and becomes an unfamiliar terminology, dealing with children on that level, when they have the questions, what's your approach, or what would you recommend as an approach to teach the children that sexuality is sacred and wonderful and delightful rather than shamed and disgusting and the rest of the things that the world teaches, and teach them that kind of health?
So, really good question. I feel like I could spend another 4 hours on that one too. There are really great resources out there. I wish I had them up on a slide. One is called, I know there's courses out there. The Healing Group has courses about how to teach our kids about sex. There's also books called It's So Amazing, and it's about bodies. I bought that a while ago. You can get it on Amazon. And there's one about, I can't remember the author, guys, I'm sorry, but it's called It's So Amazing. And it talks about birth. It talks about bodies, both girls' and boys' bodies. It talks about love. It talks about relationships. It's wonderful. But I talk, again, we start with their own bodies, right? When my second son was born, I loved it. My second son was born. My 8-year-old, I was changing his diaper, right? And he's like, "Mom, his penis is so small." I'm like, "Yes." And I felt so excited about that. Now, that's weird, maybe, but he didn't say any other jargon. He didn't use any other term. He used the correct term that I've been trying to teach to him, right? Like, "Oh, it looks kind of like mine. It's just smaller." I'm like, "Yes. That's because bodies look similar, right?" Teaching the correct terms lets them sit with it, and then they're not freaked out about the talk when they're a certain age, right? Again, pepper their infancy, their toddlerhood, their childhood with little things like this. I have never sat down and talked to my kids like, "Okay, guys, we're going to talk about something, and it's going to be a little weird," you know? It's like just a little here, a little there. Now, I'm not perfect. I don't do it perfectly. I'm growing in my progression with this too. There are things that come up. My kid comes home from school and he says things, and then, "What did you just say?" And my body reacts. And then I have to check in. Okay, what was that? What was that reaction about? Where did that come from? What's the shame, or what is the emotion behind it? So, yes, in the back. Yeah. Yes, I do. She asked, would I agree that keeping the secret of sexuality, like keeping sex secret, right? And to the side is more harmful to kids later in life. Yes. Yes. Okay. Going back, how much time? Okay, I can do this in 1 minute. Okay, you think about the popular books, Harry Potter, right? I'm using this. I got permission to use this from Nate Bagley as a podcaster here. He says, "What are your Voldemorts? What are the words? What are the he who must not be named in your life?" You know, because in the book it tells Voldemort was this wizard, right? This evil wizard that nobody would talk about because they were so scared, right? They were so scared. And fear of something, not talking about something because of fear, brings on more fear than the thing itself. Does that make sense? So if we're not talking about this because of fear, we're not comfortable with it, and it's something that we're just like, I don't want to go there, that brings about more fear and more discomfort. So yes. One more question, quick. Okay. I'm not familiar with that. Mormon Mental Health Association is another good resource. Thank you. Okay. I want to send you guys to lunch. Thanks, guys.